she's got a few problems. Okay, I said that. Then the advantage of having a full denture is that you've got all the parameters. You can have the vertical dimension, you can have the midline, you can have the occlusion, you can even check what teeth colours you like because you're going to do a provisional based on that. And this is not done in 3 or 4 days, I promise you. The provisionals are based on that. Okay. Then you might do some CAT scans with radiographic markers, or you might use something like Nova or Guide, and you do your diagnostic planning. I'm not going to elaborate on that. We're running out of time. It's just diagnostic markers. These are barium, and you get your CTs. You can see the difference in the CTs, and that is that some sites, EGDs, once you get quite a long implant, here you're going to get no implant. So to pick your sites and target the sites is critical. Okay? Not all sites are created equal, far from it. Then we convert the denture to a surgical guide. And these are very elaborate. You cut a giant great big channel hole in there, and cut a great big channel hole in there. Okay? We want the implants to come across in that space, well spread apart and at the right angle. With these, you want to cut the flanges. So when you make the denture, you want to keep it like a full denture. You don't want to go to surgery with this. The reason being is you won't be able to see it. When they've got LA in there and flaps up, etc., it's very difficult. So we cut the flaps right back. And you also make them slightly thicker because they're weak. Okay? If they've got a bit of perio, I think this guy has, I'm not sure. What we do, we sometimes do, that might be suitable for the stop, but and we've done more and more of these cases and actually love it. This is, what's his face? In fact, that's not. That one is, that one's not. What we do is carry out perio treatment prior to extracting the teeth. That sounds a bit funny, but that's what we do. And the problem with that is that sometimes they need a GA to do the perio treatment because they're so scared that's what they're like there in the first place. We do it about 2 weeks prior, and sometimes you take out 2 things with the perio treatment because it falls out. And basically do that anyway. Then put on mouthwash, antibiotics, and oral hygiene all 2 weeks before. So prepare the site. It's amazing what difference that makes. It's like any surgical site. And now, placing provisionals, full lower arches, I would say, you never say never, otherwise I'd say 100%. 98, 99% of the time, we'll place provisionals a week later for a lower. But the other, maybe 70%, maybe 60%. The other time, they'll wear a denture or not wear anything, which is what realistically happens for a while. So, same sort of criteria, if they're medically compromised, poor bone, they've got parafunction, then we don't do it. Surgeon talk is not quite the same because if you get 4 implants or 6 implants, and let's say you got 6 implants, and 5 of those go in at 40 centimetres, one goes in at 20, we're going to load that case realistically. That's telling you how it really is, not what we're supposed to say how it is. But what we do is be careful with that particular site in terms of the inclusion. Okay? If you've got 6 of them all 20 centimetres, we're going to load it. If you've got one that's like that, then the other thing we sometimes do is, stop the occlusal plane from going as far back. Okay? So that's sort of the workup in a nutshell. During surgery, what we do is, if we take the teeth out, we'll take the teeth out. And for lower, the surgeon generally levels the septum. That's very controversial. I've heard people say it's really bad to do because you're losing attached gingiva. But that's what we'll do, and that levels it to that. So we've gone from that to that, we've got some mandible there. Then we insert the implants, there they are there. Insert the abutments, there they are there. Now in this case we put in closed tray impression coatings on top of those. No question about the fact they fit because you've got an open flap. Then we suture up, and then we take an impression, closed tray. This is all autoclave. Everything's autoclave with one exception, which is the impression material itself. You can't do that. This is controversial about how accurate that impression is. Well, technically it's bloody accurate. You get these things and see it, and what happens is this is a coping hole. This is straight out of the Brown Mark Bible. They've got it. And so the impression coping is seen in this holder and then pushed on hard, apically, and then twisted and it comes off. If you don't have this, then you're not going to be able to do this technique as accurately. And my surgeon's ordered a couple of these, so you can custom order them from some company. So you can get these. So then we do an occlusal registration. And the way we do that is we put these cylinders on, and there's where it comes in handy, where we made a full denture with all the right parameters. So what we do is these cylinders poke out through those holes. Okay? And what we do then is durolate the cylinders to the denture. And drip reduces all those pre-established parameters. So there we are there, we're durolating these cylinders to the denture. So you can't undo these now because they're screwed in. You can't take the denture out until you unscrew that and they come out together. The idea is before that you've taken an impression and you've next got to generate a model. You put that on the model, we put that on the model, sorry. You take a bite or not and you relate the full arch against the full arch. And then you've got your model, you've got your mounting, and then you can take keys of this. You don't use this, some people use this and then add some teeth back and convert it back to a provisional. It's too weak. I'll explain that as Hong Kong Bridge in a minute. So we start again. It's already mounted, we've got the midline, we've got the keys for the labial, and we go to the finish. So just another patient, there's our full. Okay. The advantage of doing that and indexing provisionals are you can pre-establish all those parameters. Okay? And here's the same thing, except it's now a copy denture. So we've done a cold cure. The advantage of doing it as a full denture, not copying it in cold cure, is if for some reason you can't load it, you go back to those other ones, which I won't go back, you know what they look like. We can slop acrylic around there and then reline it. The patient's got a pseudo denture you can sort of struggle with. You can't struggle with that. So there's our cylinders, get a better view. You put the cotton roll there so the stuff doesn't go down. You cut them to length so when they close up they don't interfere with the occlusion. You see, so they don't get cut down, otherwise it will stop these closing. And they durolate together. Now they durolate from that to that, and that to that, and that to that. We use 4 of them, so it's quite stable. Then you go to the lab and you made a model based on the impression, and you then put these on that model, and you pretty well relate these. There's not much drama about how they relate. You've got 2 full arch models you can hand relate if you want to. So then we go to the lab, and we insert 1 to 2 weeks later. There's another case, there's the lab. Here's the durolane, and the lab puts that onto that model. And then we make a provisional. We use titanium cylinders. We've got a cast bar. Some people don't do that anymore. I like it. We opaque these so they don't show through. There they are there. Then you put your teeth on. There they are. So, virtually no cantilevers. There is one there. It's small, and we keep that out of occlusion. Make the link a little bit thicker because it's not as strong. There's no titanium framework, but there's a cast framework. So this is what the patient looks like a week later, or thereabouts. Sorry. It's nearly finished too, guys. So the patient comes in like that, kind of numb them up, insert it there. They've still got, in this case, the upper teeth. They're coming out. This is 7 days later. This actually, no, it's not. Where's the surgeon's mum? Which is in there. Different case. 5 weeks. So I've always explained all those there. I know it's on twice. Now, if you heard of this Hong Kong Bridge, it's fantastic. But what they do is get the same denture and then cut the flanges off, put holes in the cylinders, and then marry the two together, and there's your bridge. I've done that. I'm not sure how that got there. This is out of the journal. There they are doing the Hong Kong Bridge. So they've got a denture. You cut these holes in it, you put these cylinders through, and they use plastic, which is even worse. There's no chemical bonding of these to that. So what you end up with is a really weak prosthesis, because that's basically covered. You might as well not have these in there in terms of providing strength. What you've got there is that. And this is not too bad in the old days where everything was done as a staged approach. So what happens is, today putting implants, You wait 3-6 months, you put the abutments on, and you make it temporary, you make it that way. We don't do that very often. What we do is put the implants in, and so that temporary can then stay on a month till everything's settled and you go on and do the final. But you're doing immediate loading, then you put the implants in, you make the provisional, and that provisional stays 6 to 9 months. This is not strong enough for 6 to 9 months, I promise you. So there they are, they suture up, they put those in, they put the denture over the top, and then marry them to the condyles, polish it up. So those holes, there's no bond in there. Any technician will tell you. Is that right? Yeah. You have to say that. So apart from which you've got no impression, so you've got no concept where the soft tissue is exactly. So it's weak, it's not reinforced, large open, there's no model, it's not heat cure like the other one. It's okay short term, but today with immediate load, you're going to have a provision there 6 to 12 months. And it's very time consuming. First one I did when I did the abutments, then this took me 7 hours. But now I can probably do it in about 3. This is what I call the Hong Kong Bridge. Okay, it's great. But the other one, not so good. The other thing to do is just very briefly, staged approach. There's all different variations of this. And this one here, like I said, these weren't suitable for loading, so we buried those. And the raw week, as the surgeon did it. They've had implants, they've now been taken out about 3 weeks ago and got implants. This is common. And so we did it sort of almost an all-on-4 situation, and we loaded these, or they're now loaded. So this is what the gentleman looked like. Those 4 exposed, those 2 buried. It's just, you've got to think outside the box. And so these is provisional, and they've now been exposed, provisional, and the photo. The other thing, so basically you can extract some teeth, place some implants and do it in stages. The downside is it takes longer, it costs more, doing it in stages. The advantage is you don't have to go have removal. You don't go toothless. It does take longer, it does increase cost, and it's only useful in some situations. Here's another example, so Medico. And he had a bridge from here to here, and these things are all now failing. So he didn't want to go with removable. So this is a very good variation theme, if you like. What happened is I did a 6-unit bridge, we had them there, but I did a temporary, which could come on and off. So we could place implants between them, and we could place implants either side of them. In the meantime, he had his 3-to-3 occlusion, and this bridge had probably a grade 3 mobility, which is probably the only reason he kept it in there. Okay? I actually made 2 to try and make a spare. So we can take this on and off and do the surgery, put it back, and he's never had to go toothless, he's never had to go removable. It costs him a lot more, takes him a lot longer. So here we are, he's actually had a bone graft, which is another reason I've been putting him on there. There's a graft with fixation screws. He's still got he's got my temporary bridge. So he's got 1 tooth there, 2 half teeth there, and he wore that for a few months, and it worked fantastic. And in the meantime, of course, he's got a full lower, or getting a full lower. I'm a union man, you know, 1 out, all out. So there's the implants, that's all on 4, you can tell because they're angled abutments. You can see where the sockets are, so these are taken out during surgery. There's a 2 socket there and there and there. Put the implants in, impression copings, suture up, glues the registration, and he walks out like that, comes in a week later and gets his provision. And in the meantime, he did the lower as well for boot. And his cotton plugs, nothing gets down, and you lay those in. And again, you've got spaces like that, and small space up there. Now, these provisionals are done and they're made ahead of time like an immediate, so it's one appointment, 1-shot deal. Occasionally I'll try and because I have real doubts about inclusion or whatever. It's not fun because they've got to run them up twice, once a week later, once a few days after that. But that's a one appointment, okay? I say, look, we can change the things later, we can change the tooth colour, the midline, inclusion, but that's got to be coming in 6 months' time. When we do the final, we start again. We never use any of this stuff again. New impressions, new clues of registration, new everything. Keep the buttons, obviously. So that's one appointment. Several months later, we got 6 to 8 appointments. new impressions. We then take it off and includes the registration to lab. We then verify the model. I haven't talked about that, but we always verify the model. We're trying a tube setup. Now, this is before you get any framework, because you work backwards. You try the teeth in and you make the framework inside that. You might retry if needed. Then we do a full try with the framework and then we insert. So best case scenario is 6 appointments, sometimes 8 or 10 if we get sort of more difficult patients. So I don't understand how I've gone 6 to 10 appointments over a couple of months or more. This is 6 months after the provisionals, where someone can do it in 3 days. I'd like to see how he would do this thing in 3 days. It's all ceramic, full upper arch, lower posteriors, all 4 posteriors reconstructed. That's, it's 3 days work. The model takes 3 days. So the bottom line is that same thing, if you're not doing immediate placement, you should be where appropriate. I've put great big letters where appropriate. So I guess tonight's message is that, and about 5 minutes later, that's a record.